It was a pretty typical day at the YW. Our shelter was probably 45 to 50 women, and we had a full staff, and my phone rang, and they let me know that we were in high alert.
Open the door now! We know you're in there! Open the door!
The YWCA shelter exists to help women stay safe. When there's a high alert at the shelter, there's a protocol that we follow. And so the police would have been called immediately, and then I would have been called next. So when I got the call from the shelter, the police were already en route. We realized that 4 days earlier, we had taken a woman into the shelter who was the girlfriend of a gang member. In fact, he was a leader of the gang. So when those two individuals, a man and a woman, showed up, it took us a little while to realize we were dealing with the Nashville gang. So I called Ann Pruitt, our board chair.
I got a call from Pat, probably mid-morning, not unusual to get a call from her, and she said, we have a serious problem. 2 gang members have shown up at the shelter, pounding on the doors, pounding on the windows.
We had a woman that was inconsolable. We had her and a child in a closet with a counselor because they were so afraid of what was going on outside the building. She was informing us that gang behavior is such that if her partner, boyfriend, sends gang members to get her, they can't go back without her. I felt it was necessary to also call Chief Anderson's office, and within minutes I heard from Captain Alexander.
I'm currently assigned to the Specialized Investigations Division. That particular division houses the narcotics unit as well as the gang unit. I'd received a phone call from Tom Negri, who had in turn got me in touch with Pat Shea. That immediately started a process of the Specialized Investigations Division along with the YWCA. An intelligence effort began on behalf of the gang unit of learning all we could about the male subject that was involved.
Police officers were on site. They were patrolling the grounds. The 2 individuals were actually arrested and taken downtown.
We obviously wanted to do everything we could do on behalf of the police department to make this a safe situation.
Things got calm again, but we were still on high alert. We did notice that we were getting a lot of calls from women saying they needed to come into shelter. There was something about those calls that seemed fake. About 5:30, our shelter leader was getting ready to go home, and that's when she saw a car pulled over on the side that looked like it was having car trouble. 2 men were outside, and 2 men were in the back seat. She recognized one of the men outside of the car as being the man who had been at our shelter earlier that day. She turned around and came back in. It was going to be a long night, and we knew it. Our staff continued the process of finding an alternative plan for our client and her daughter. By mid-evening, they had located a shelter in another city, and they had actually figured out the transportation.
So how do we execute this plan? Because that is not something in the YW's expertise.
We're not qualified to sneak someone out in the middle of the night when there might be gang members actually still watching us and stalking us. So Ann and I called Captain Alexander and told him we needed help. He said that's all they needed to hear. We'll take it from there.
We devised a plan that involved the safe transportation for the lady and her young child to be taken from the shelter to the bus station. We did get meticulous to include even the type of vehicle in an unmarked capacity, but not only just drop them at the bus station, would stay there and ensure that they safely got onto a bus and were safely able to exit the city without any obvious sign of someone that may have been trying to follow them.
There was nothing else for me to do but wait. It was probably about 10 o'clock when we got off that call. So I tried to go to bed. I just took my phone and laid down and kept thinking about what was going on at the shelter. It was about 2:30 in the morning when I finally got a text. Everything was okay. She was gone. She was safe. It was over. I laid there and I really wondered what it would be like if there had been no shelter for her to call. I wonder what it would be like if there was no shelter for anyone to call.
This incident drove home for me the nature of what we do every day at the YWCA. It was amazing to see how quickly resources were marshaled.
The YWCA and the police department were able to work together at any time of the day or night when people need the help the most. That's when those relationships really matter, and that's when those relationships can prove to be very, very effective, and that was the case in this scenario.
About 6 months after the incident, the woman called our shelter to check in. She and her daughter were safe. Her daughter's enrolled in school. I was really proud. The YW kept that woman safe. She's no longer with a batterer, and she's out of a gang. An incident like this really reminds me how important the work of the YW is, and how important the existence of the Weaver Domestic Violence Shelter is to the safety of women and families in Nashville.
YWCA Shelter, can I help you? Okay, are you safe right now? We'll work out a safe plan to get you here. It's gonna be okay.